Hello YouTube, this is Lions Den with another news and commentary. First, let me give a shout out to Roland Martin Unfiltered for this story. A South Carolina woman named Shirley Ann Montgomery was cutting her own grass when a racist neighbor and the neighbor's son shouting racial slurs at her, and they threatened to kill her, all because she was cutting her own grass in her own yard. So ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and play this video, and then I'm going to continue the rest of my commentary.
Black South Carolina homeowner cutting her grass was threatened by her white neighbor and his son, who shouted racial slurs and yelled that he would murder her. I'm not making this up, folks. You'll only see the story on Roland Martin Unfiltered, and luckily for Shirley Ann Montgomery, it was caught on video, and we have that video. Take a look. Shirley Ann Montgomery is joining me from Los Angeles for this Roland Martin Unfiltered exclusive. I have so many comments on this. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining us, and I am so sorry you had to go through this.
Yeah, me too.
So the first point I wanted to bring up was, one, you're outside cutting the grass. You may have went in a little bit onto his property potentially. Who complains about that? I mean, seriously, who complains about someone stepping on their grass? I mean, that's the first thing. And then for it to escalate to the point where your neighbor's son threatened to murder you, called you racial slurs. I heard monkey being thrown out during that tirade. And so I'm just trying to find out, is this the first time this kind of incident has happened? And then tell me a little bit about how it got to the point where we saw the video where the son was coming out and threatening you.
Well, this is the first time that particular incident happened and got to that point. I've had amicable relations as far as communicating with the neighbor. Hi, how are you? Times where he was upset with the HOA and he wanted to press charges against the HOA as far as filing a lawsuit and what have you. However, we have said hi off and on, and then the neighbor began to stop talking. So I stopped talking, and I said that this neighbor was not very sane to me in his mindset, off and on communication, so I just eliminated all communications. So I was caught off guard by his behavior, actually.
And so you said that wasn't the first incident or instance of you guys kind of, I guess, so to speak, butting heads. So when was the point where it got to this point where threats were being made, and that's when you made the police report?
So the only time I could I don't know if we really butt heads, he was a little bit upset because one of my neighbors, or actually a tenant, drove on the grass, which I agreed with him. That should have not occurred. I thought, everything was good to go. That was months prior. I've never interacted with his son. So all of this was very fresh and very new to me. I became very, I guess, aggravated by his actions because he was banging on his kitchen window at me. When his guy cuts his grass, they go over in my yard. As you can see, the property line is very hard to define. It's kind of defined based on the different colors of the building. So if you could take that and try to walk your way out onto the grass, you can see it's very blurred. Never ever have had any issues of such with any of the other neighbors, actually. So I was caught off guard by his behavior. I've never talked to his son whatsoever.
What was going through your mind that day, and I believe it was on August 6th? What was going through your mind? You're outside, you're cutting your grass, you're just trying to make sure your lawn looks great, and then he comes out and starts making these statements. Kind of walk us through that and what you were thinking and what you were feeling at that moment.
So when I was outside initially cutting my grass, I was in a very good space, actually. I was listening to Kirk Franklin praise. I was singing. I was really thanking the Lord just for my ability. His son actually came outside and sat at the table with his shades on, and he lit a cigar, which he could do that. I don't care. I was pulling weeds at the time, and I was determined that I was not going to lose my focus whatsoever. And then I guess after I didn't say anything to the son or pay attention to him, he went back on the inside, and that's when the knocking on the kitchen window started. And my thing was like, what do you want? Leave me alone. Leave me alone, literally. So in my mind, I felt as if I was basically being harassed. And I did not expect for him to come outside. I expected for him to stop knocking. This camera has been on my properties for quite some time. So it's not like he didn't know he was being videoed. Actually, I used to have the ring say, you are now being recorded. That was an issue for him. So being a neighbor, wanting to keep things in good space, I actually turned that part of the camera off. But I've always kept my cameras on. I've never had any issues with any other neighbor. This particular neighbor, in my opinion, my mindset was, okay, you told me before your family came from Germany. You told me before you lived in your mother's home. You've asked about taxes. There were certain things he wanted to know that I was not willing to share with him. So his mindset, even in saying, which a lot of people throw that weight out there, he knew the sheriff, which I really didn't care, but it was kind of like a white privilege thing to me. He had an issue because I had a nice sidewalk, which the previous owners had done. He had an issue because I have a garage with an apartment on top where you see those stairs. That's where the camera is actually coming from, which is on my property. So I'm not sure where all this came from. It definitely aggravated my anxiety. I'm a former veteran, served in the Army. My son was assaulted by the police, so not first encounterment as far as hostility or issues based on race, and I do say it was racial. I actually went to the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute, Dayomi in Florida, so I understand what the system says white privilege is or how different people think. And I'm not saying that all people are bad people, but in this particular case, this neighbor has an issue, and I became afraid, just going to be honest, in real talk. I am a concealed weapon carrier. I've never really carried my weapon on me, but now I kind of do, wanting to make myself comfortable with carrying it. When I get back to South Carolina, I'm actually talking with my counselor, possibly of getting a dog that I can have with me, one as protection, but then two to also help calm some of my anxiety. Because I don't know, I mean, you can see where we live, right next door to each other. You can see this guy, he burst out and started yelling at me and calling me out of my name. I don't really know what his mindset is and what he will or will not do.
Well, I can absolutely understand the fear of that because, again, you're just cutting your grass and you have someone running at you talking about they're going to murder you.
Yeah. And then he turned around and he said to me that he didn't, excuse the expression, give a shit. And so, bam, shit. Silence hidden in trauma. I guess he got a whole lot of trauma going on. He didn't care. And after I got the police report, I learned that the officer, as far as I was concerned, was very biased. And he also was in the defense of the neighbor and his son based on me not responding intimidated by this particular neighbor and what he said.
Now, we have the police report right here, and there's actually a line from the police report that I would like to read for our viewers. We don't want to show it to protect our interviewee's privacy. But basically, in the police report, it states that, quote, due to the lack of ability on the part of the subject to carry out his threat, no further action was taken. So this individual can come outside, threaten to murder you, call you racial slurs, and because he didn't act upon it, we're not going to take any further action. How did you feel about that when you filed this report and the police were like, yeah, we're not going to do anything because he didn't do anything to you?
So when the officer showed up, he told me that he had to talk to the neighbor as well, which I understood that. I understood protocol. Then another officer approached and began to talk to him. That officer did not talk to me. That officer did not say to me, hey, calm down, it's okay, it's a misunderstanding, or any of that. So when I went to pick up the police report that following Monday, because I'm real serious about a restraining order, I don't know who they are, I don't know the mindset, I was caught off guard, and I saw the way he wrote that report, I was livid. I literally burst in tears. I literally felt that even though this guy threw things out there, that what he said, there may be some truth to that as far as who he knew. The other officer, he did not talk to me whatsoever, and I've got some concerns. I really, really do. I'm walking truthfully in faith because I have a lot of faith, but I know that God is not causing us to be stupid either. I know for a fact that I'm protected because I truly believe that I'm protected, because had not there been interference by his father, I really believe that that guy would have come and caused me some harm. And I shared that also with the police. And I spoke with a captain or whoever after the fact, and they're like, oh, yeah, we understand, just keep your cameras, blah, blah, blah. But I have concerns.
Well, thankfully you have that camera footage, because we also have the footage of the neighbor saying that it's illegal for you to record him.
Yeah.
But then you have the police saying, no, keep recording him. So you having conflicting things going on. Had you not had that video, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So thankfully you have that as evidence.
Yeah, probably not. And again, the officers, because I was actually at the magistrate office when this guy went and stood in front of the property line and started talking to my camera, and I immediately asked officers if what I was doing was illegal, and they told me absolutely not. All he was trying to do was to intimidate me, and he's not going to intimidate me. I'm not moving.
Let's bring in our panelists, because I'm sure they have plenty of questions to ask. Let's start off with Terrain. You have any questions for Ms.
Yeah, I gotta stop that video right there. Again, shouts out to Roland Martin Unfiltered for their story. And if I were Shirley Ann Montgomery, I would have so much protection around her, because you never know what this white neighbor or this racist neighbor would do to her. Now, with that being said, you saw the video and you heard in any interview or what she said or what happened to her. You know what? This isn't surprising, because when you have a neighbor like that, and you're gonna see that neighbor every single day, obviously you have to. I mean, she said she's a licensed carry person, which is good, and she said she's planning on getting a dog for protection as well. The question is, will that be enough? Because you see what she also said, that the police officers are basically not going to do anything with this white neighbor at all. You already hear what they said, that, basically, I mean, they said that it's illegal. Well, the neighbor says it's illegal to record them, but the police said it's not illegal. Keep recording. You got conflicting things happen there. But the biggest concern that I have is, if it wasn't for Roland Martin Unfiltered, will the story even come out? Will this story even come out to the mainstream media or even the local media in South Carolina about this incident? Probably not. So again, I would like to give a shout, and again, I would give a shout out again for Roland Martin Unfiltered for having the story to come out the way it did. Because if it wasn't for that, we would never heard anything about it. We wouldn't even know what happened to that, what's going on. And again, I'm still fearful for her at all, because you never know what they're going to do. And you see, there's a lot of white privilege in this situation. And she says she's a licensed carry. Again, I applaud her. She's a licensed carry woman, that she can carry a gun now. She's very safe, and she plans on getting a dog, probably a pit bull or a Rottweiler, hopefully. One of the dogs that will protect her no matter what. But again, she says she's not moving at all. But you still have this situation. You have a racist neighbor that's threatened her life, all because she was cutting her grass in her own yard. See, ladies and gentlemen, I want the whole world to see all of this, because it shows you what's going on in America, how they treat black people here in America. Now, if the role were reversed, if a man threatened a white woman in her yard, what will happen? The police would have arrested him on the spot. They would have locked him up, whatever. Threaten her. You see, but this is what's happening here in America, ladies and gentlemen. Shirley Ann Montgomery isn't the only person that's going through all of this. There's incidents like this happening. And people doesn't care. And you see the police is being nonchalant about all of this. They don't care about, they're talking to the neighbor, but they really ain't doing nothing about this. But it shows you the fear of this woman, that she has to see this neighbor every day, and the son of that neighbor calling her a monkey and all these racial slurs. But again, the police feeling nonchalant. Okay, they don't care. They don't act on it. But if the role were reversed, he would have been locked up for real. If this neighbor was black and that white woman was white, oh man, it would be a whole different story. So YouTube, let me know what you think about this in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next video. This Lions Den signing off. Deuces.